Welcome to today's explainer for August 4th, 2026. We're going to cut right through all that abstract AI hype today and look at the concrete reality. We are unpacking what I like to call the AI stack. We're tracing this technology all the way from the absolute billions being poured into foundational hardware, straight up to the real-world policy challenges waiting for us at the very top. Let's dive into where the tech actually stands right now. Here's a quick roadmap of the AI stack we'll be covering. 1. AI's $200 billion foundation. 2. Operationalizing enterprise AI. 3. The quantum computing reality check. And 4. Governing AI world models. Let's jump right in. Starting at the very bottom of the stack, Section 1, AI's $200 billion foundation, looking at the massive financing deal between Google and Anthropic. $200 billion. Seriously, just let that number sink in for a second. We aren't talking about your standard venture capital seed round here. This is a highly complex private credit package that Google assembled for Anthropic. It completely proves that the entry fee to compete in foundation models right now is measured in the hundreds of billions, which is a scale we usually only see for national infrastructure projects. And, what's really wild is how this massive funding is sliced up. Over $150 billion of that is going strictly toward TPU chip leases and data center guarantees. Literally 3/4 of this entire historic deal is just to rent the physical processors and the giant buildings to house them. It pretty much confirms that the absolute primary bottleneck, and definitely the biggest cost in AI development right now, is just raw physical compute power. Now, Google is absolutely not going it alone on this one. To actually structure a deal of this magnitude, they partnered up with major financial and hardware heavyweights. We're talking Broadcom, Blackstone, and Apollo. When you have top-tier private equity and alternative asset managers stepping in right alongside semiconductor giants to fund AI compute, that signals a massive shift. The underlying hardware of AI is literally being treated as a foundational macroeconomic asset class now, kind of like physical real estate or the energy grid. Moving up the stack to Section 2. Operationalizing enterprise AI, taking this from data centers to real-world supply chains. Because all that incredibly expensive infrastructure is ultimately built to do something, right? So how does all that physical compute turn into actual business action? Well, let's look at the fast-moving consumer goods sector. Consumer goods giant Dabur India is teaming up with Accenture. And they aren't just doing abstract high-level planning, they are accelerating AI reinvention right down at the micro-operational scale of their everyday business. Because, you can't just plug an AI in and expect magic. You got to build the tracks first. This partnership perfectly illustrates the real enterprise pipeline. Step 1, you build a unified data lake to get all your information in one place. Step 2, you deploy generative AI conversational agents right on top of it. And Step 3, the ultimate holy grail, automated supply chain and demand sensing. This is exactly how billions of dollars in silicon chips translates to a company knowing exactly how much shampoo to stock on a random Tuesday. All right, moving to Section 3, the quantum computing reality check, looking at Gartner's hardware forecast through 2028. We need to talk about what's actually going to power all this stuff. So, what hardware will actually run these incredibly complex operations tomorrow? Well, a new Gartner report just compared classical accelerated computing against the big sci-fi promise of quantum hardware. And their forecast is definitive. Classical computing is going to utterly and completely dominate enterprise AI implementations for the rest of this decade. The crucial takeaway from Gartner is honestly pretty blunt. They literally stated, no peer-reviewed results demonstrate quantum advantage for production AI workloads. So, yeah. Despite all the massive hype, classical chips sitting in traditional data centers are going to be our absolute workhorses through at least 2028. If you're out there waiting for quantum computers to magically solve your AI compute bottlenecks, well, you're going to be waiting a really long time. Finally, Section 4, Governing AI World Models, the next policy frontier from Stanford HAI. We are moving to the very top of our stack now, looking way past the hardware and supply chains to a horizon that is going to drastically shift societal governance. This is where things get a bit mind-bending. We are actively shifting away from large language models into what are known as world models. What this means is that AI is transitioning from just processing text to actually predicting and understanding physical spatial environments. It's making the leap from just understanding grammar and syntax to literally understanding physics and object permanence. And researchers over at Stanford are pointing out a massively steep impending challenge here. As these systems learn to predict things like how cars move or how bridges bear weight, the policy frameworks we need become vastly more complex. I mean, the rules we're scrambling to build today for text and image generators, they are completely unequipped for AI systems that interact with physical robotics or real city infrastructure. We've seen the $200 billion poured into foundational chips, and we've seen how enterprises are hooking these classical computing systems straight into their global supply chains. But as this intelligence literally pushes out of the data center and begins to accurately model our actual physical reality, I want to leave you with this final thought. How on earth do we govern AI once it genuinely understands the physical world around us? Thanks so much for exploring the AI stack with me on today's Explainer. I hope this helped you decode this wild, rapidly changing landscape.